And good morning, good morning, good morning. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Thank you very much for joining me again on One Deal Away, sponsored Money Matters show. My name is Nev, and this is Money Matters. So, welcome to today's episode, and happy Monday to you. We don't have very many of these left in 2020, so I know you're excited. But look, it was a really crazy weekend, right? A lot of things have happened, and today we're going to take a look at like what actually happened and what the impact is. There's some news about, of course, the US government needing to finance, and it sounds like they have agreed on a bill, and it sounds like there's some cool things in it, or maybe not so cool things. We're going to take a look into what's in that. Of course, they still have to sign it this morning, so we'll see if that's going to happen. Of course, what is that impacting, and how is that impacting the money, the bonds, the dollar, the crypto, the whole nine yards, right? So we're going to talk about that stuff. We're also going to talk about Japan is doing something similar, but they did it a little bit differently, and I will show you exactly what they did. It's the same thing. They just are getting a little bit smarter about it because they're a little bit of ahead of us with this money printing shenanigans and what's going on with that. Of course, we're going to take a look at what's happening in the crypto markets and really kind of what the short term and long term impact is. And here's a spoiler alert in case you don't have time. Short term, we are seeing a dump, and we could see it actually go down below $20,000. Personally, I'm very excited about that proposition because that means I can buy more, and hopefully that's going to happen at the same time with the stimulus things so that I can actually roll that money out. We're going to take a look into this stuff. We're going to take a look at everything that is possible, including the giant challenge with Ledger. Remember Ledger, the hard wallet and stuff? Well, their information was stolen, and now it's leaked everywhere, and so everybody now knows where the folks that have ledgers live, what their phone numbers are, how to reach them, and how to steal their identity. We're going to be taking a look at all of that stuff so that you can protect yourself. If you're brand new to the whole thing, hey, subscribe, like, and join me, and let's do this. All right, y'all. Hello, hello. Happy Monday to you. So let's go in and take a look at what's going on. So first we're gonna go to Japan because I think what they're doing with their money printing, it's actually very cool. So here is the news that rolled out. Check this out. It says Japan leveraged 80 tons of gold to help fund part of its stimulus package. And you are now thinking to yourself, wow, they sold their gold? No, they didn't sell it. They leveraged it. But how did they leverage it? Who did they leverage it to? Did they borrow money from U.S. or China or who did they borrow money from? Well, they sort of borrowed from themselves. Check this out. Japan's finance ministry has reportedly leveraged 80 tons of gold to help fund part of its huge stimulus package. They are settled with public debt that is twice the size of the economy. U.S. is not quite there, but hey, Japan has been doing this since the 80s. We started in the 2000s, so, we're lagging behind a little bit. But we'll catch up. Don't you worry about that. Actually, the whole world will catch up. Don't you worry about that. So it's under pressure to find a non-tax revenues to cover the rising cost of spending. So the ministry's division in charge of international affairs. Check this out. This is how convoluted thing is, and you can probably do this on your own. Except if you try to print it, it might be illegal. The ministry's division in charge of international affairs sold a portion of dollar reserves to the Bank of Japan. With the yen it received, right? So they sold a portion of dollar reserves to the Bank of Japan. Bank of Japan basically sold the ministry's international affairs division some yen. With the yen it received, the division bought gold from another division of the ministry in charge of debt management. So the Ministry of Debt Management basically said, hey, we have gold over here. So now they took this yen from this pocket over here, put it in this one, and then they quote unquote leveraged the whole thing. Division in charge of debt management gained the proceeds of roughly $4.84 million dollars or 500 billion yen. And of course, what are they going to do with the money? Well, it will finance new fund aimed at boosting research and development at universities. Well, wait a minute. I thought you were doing that to create a stimulus package to deal with the crisis, with the health crisis. But I guess it's going to the universities and education. All right. Then the Bank of Japan announced on the same day that it would buy dollars from the ministry as a precaution against any market disruptions. So basically, what they're doing is basically a Ponzi scheme. It's a giant sham. They didn't leverage anything. They literally just transfer paper from left pocket to the right pocket. It's kind of like robbing Peter to pay Paul. That's all they did. So they're just a little bit smarter. Now, US is like, we're not even going to bring the gold. We're just going to print, man. We're just going to print, So what they did is, they have agreed on the whole thing. And so here is what's in the bill. Right, here's what's in the bill. We're talking about $900 billion, plus minus a billion. I mean, what's billion amongst friends, right? Direct payment of $600 to most Americans, not all, to most Americans, of course. The teenagers are excluded again. The pensioners excluded again. So people are getting screwed yet again. But, really, you were thinking everybody's going to be included? Yeah, not so much. $300 per week in enhanced unemployment benefits through March. All right. $284 billion for the Paycheck Protection Program that provides forgivable loans to small businesses, and they still don't know how that's going to impact the taxes because they're still going out there and dealing with that. So good luck with all of that stuff. $82 billion for education, $10 billion for childcare, $15 billion for grants for theater operators and small performance venues, $25 billion in rental assistance, and an extension of the moratorium on eviction. So if you are a real estate owner, operator, whatever, you have real estate, this potentially could come your way, but we'll see. As everything else, things are going to get screwed up and, of course, abused. But I digress. $13 billion in funds for food stamps and child nutrition benefits, $30 billion for the procurement of distribution of COVID vaccine, and $1.8 billion in tax credits for businesses to provide paid leave. Of course, as with any fiscal stimulus that is nearly $1 trillion, there will be lots of pork and other shady components thrown into the bill. One such questionable kicker is a $15 billion in payroll assistance to airlines that in theory is supposed to bring people back from the furlough. However, in reality, since there is no enforcement clause, there could be surprised if many of the airlines continue quietly to lay off people and use the funds to repurchase the stocks. Oh, talk about repurchasing the stocks. It gets even better. All right. So what happened? Well, they ended up doing some of that sort of test, right? The Fed did the bank test, and they found the banks to be very, very healthy. So what they did is they said, all right, the banks are super happy and super healthy. We are going to allow them to buy back their own shares of stock. And of course, this deal is worth about $11 billion. And Fed said, quote, confirmed that large banks could continue to lend to households and businesses even during a sharply adverse future turn in the economy. They're saying the banks are super healthy. They're going to be able to do all this stuff. However, the challenge and the problem is that because they're going to start spending money on themselves and not on you and I, we could see that lending is actually going to go away. With lending going away, the hopes for the inflation in the short period is basically gone. What is going to happen is you're going to have very hard time actually procuring money. That is going to hurt again small business operators. It's going to hurt again small real estate investors. It's going to hurt again the individuals wanting to purchase homes. So we'll see how this is all going to play out. Of course, I don't have a crystal ball, but I am just sort of guessing. Now, with the $600, and I've already put it at the beginning of the show, that there are some of the individuals that are saying, we expect that Bitcoin could actually go down into the $19,000 level. It could go as low as $16,000 of the whole thing. Hey, thanks, Scotty. Appreciate it. I'm actually about to talk about it, but don't shell it. We're all going to play nice. So, anyways, what I wanted to share with you is Bitcoin. So, here it is. Bitcoin is doing some crazy stuff over here. And if you had actually purchased when the first stimulus rolled out, which was Bitcoin was about 65.50, you would be making about $500 a month worth, because your $1,200 would be worth $4,057 at the current prices. So that's kind of cool, and that's kind of interesting piece for you to know. As you will see over here right now, Bitcoin is turning south, and that is something to be expected. Right now we're trading at $22,682, and of course there's some individuals that expecting it to go as low as $19,500, and it potentially could go as low. Sorry, I failed to share with you the chart. And it could potentially go as low as 16,500 or so. So there's something for you to think about and consider. Okay, so things to sort of pay attention to. And personally, if you were to ask me, I actually hope that we hit the $16,000 level right around the time when they mail us the $600 checks, so that Nev can go in and buy some more BTC. And who knows, I might buy some alts that I actually have for you, some of the things that are going to do some amazing stuff, potentially. Again, I don't have a crystal ball. All right, y'all, let's take a look at the market before we continue with some of the interesting stories. Bitcoin, as mentioned, hold on, we got to refresh this stuff. This puppy keeps on changing all the time. All right, so CoinGecko is reporting at 22,663, down 3% over the course of a day. Ethereum is 611, down 5.4 over the course of 24 hours. XRP is down into the 52-cent timestamp. Litecoin is 107. Wow, Litecoin pumped like really crazy over the last 7 days, 30.5%, y'all. Bitcoin Cash is down also, so we're seeing some of the dumps happening. Link is down at $12, so we'll see kind of how things are playing out. Overall, we do have some pretty good, interesting sort of moves. Near is pumped 20.2% over the last 24 hours. Zilliqa is 8.5% in 24 hours, but 50.7% in a week. That's a pretty good move. Elrond is up, EGLD is up 57.6% in 7 days and 7.5%. So some definitely good moves. Again, Dodge, I mean, give me a break. This probably has something to do with Musk's tweet. I mean, I don't know how else to explain why this thing was pumping. It's probably the kids on the TikTok yet again saying, look, we should go in and push it. On the biggest loser side of things, Nexo is the biggest loser at 18.8% down. Swissborg is down 18.3% as well, but he has pumped really nicely in 7 days, 92.5%, and again 7% in an hour. So something to pay attention to. One of the things. So we are seeing pretty okay markets, right? Like sort of sideways, nothing crazy happening on the up or the downside of things. Now, let's take a look at some of the crazy stuff that kind of has come in on the whole, what's going on with crypto and where things are going. We all know, if you're following crypto, you know that Bitcoin kind of has to do a little bit of moves, then get a little bit boring, and then everything else kind of follows. So on the sort of moves and stuff, here is an investor who's basically saying like, oh, things are going to like crap on Bitcoin back when it crashed down to the $3,000 level. So Jason Canis, who is the American investor with a net worth of at least $100 million, surmised that there was a 60 to 70% chance of Bitcoin to lose its value back in 2018 or so, right? And then not that long ago, I want to say it was yesterday, he basically went to Twitter and say, hey, everybody, is now a good time to buy. Now, how did he actually make some of the $100 million? Well, he actually ended up putting $25,000 into Uber when Uber, well, was not really Uber, at least not the one that we know. And of course, when they cashed out, he cashed out as well. Now, that was a pretty darn good investment, so good for him and congrats. However, and he ended up tweeting like, "Oh, this is not gonna happen." So he ended up tweeting some of the stuff of saying Bitcoin zero, and this is definitely going down. And so, of course, people giving him hard time. And I couldn't read all the tweets. I will be honest with you, because I was getting heated. I was about to argue with everybody. I'm like, "Who are you arguing with, dude? Like nobody's even watching you." Okay, so it was just me looking at all of the stuff, arguing basically with my own computer. I'm like, you are all idiots. No, they're not idiots. They're just not educated. So, anyways, he now went in and said, "Is now a good time to buy Bitcoin?" And of course, people going in and saying, "No, it's a scam. Don't do it." And I'm like, all right, clearly you've been hanging out with Peter Schiff or Nouriel Rubini, right? So, anyways, I don't know, but they were saying, "Hey, depends on your thing. You may want to do it. You may not want to do it." So people are starting to go back and forth. But it looks like when they were questioning him about the whole thing, and they were saying like, "All right, well, what is your move and like, what are you thinking?" And kind of like, what do you want? He was like, "Well, you know." Every time that we have this move where it breaks up, it goes back down, and it breaks up, and it reaches the new highs, my probability of it going to zero goes down 50%. So I guess he believes that now there's a 30 to 35% that Bitcoin is going to go down to zero. I actually think it's much less than that, but what the hey do I know? I didn't know the guy who started the Uber when he started it, so what would I know about the whole thing? Now, of course, one of the things that people are also saying is that why things are moving so swiftly within the Bitcoin potentially in the short term is Elon Musk. Elon Musk has been doing some crazy tweets. Then again, he's known for doing some crazy tweets, and you never know if the man is serious, if he's joking, or what the hell is going on. So what's been going on is that Elon was basically saying, posting all kinds of crazy photos, some of them completely inappropriate for children under age of 18, I would say, and maybe even younger. I don't know. But anyways, what he was actually also tweeting is that, Dogecoin. So I'm like, all right, is that why Doge was now like going on up? So who the hey knows? But one of the interesting things that he did actually get involved in was in a tweet with Michael Saylor from MicroStrategy. And of course, one of the things that we do need to understand is that the market capitalization of Tesla is about $650 billion. It has been pumping like crazy. It is going into S&P 500 today, actually. So, hey, congrats, Elon and Tesla hodlers. But MicroStrategy total valuation is only 2.7 billion. So as you can see, there's a giant difference between 650 billion and 2.7 billion. So what happened is that Michael Saylor basically was tweeting back and responding to him and said, quote, "If you want to do your shareholders a $100 billion favor, convert Tesla balance sheet from USD, US dollar, to Bitcoin. Other firms in the S&P 500 would follow your lead, and in time, and it would grow to become a $1 trillion favor." Now, Musk responded back and saying, "Are such large transactions even possible?" Now, are they seriously discussing this or not? Who the hey knows? My personal opinion is that they're probably not, because why would you want to do it? If you're seriously considering, you would not signal it, because nobody wants to signal and buy Bitcoin at $50,000 if you can buy it at 19. What I might do is keep quiet, be stupid, play it down, then buy it at 19, and then announce to the world that I bought it, just like Michael Saylor did, just like every other company did, right? Like that makes sense to do. So anyways, they're going back and forth, and of course, other people jumped in, and when he said, "Well, is such large transaction possible?" So of course, every exchange out there in the world jumped on the Twitter and said, "Of course, we can help you with this stuff." So one of the individuals, Sam from FTX, basically said, quote, "Major OTS desk would be happy to help. The basic answer is it will have some impact, but you can get it done in a course of a week or so." So that's an interesting piece to kind of pay attention to. Is Musk going to actually turn Tesla into, Bitcoin hodler? I don't know. I think actually it would be cool. And if it does end up happening, I will tell you, Tesla stock might actually double in price because it happened with MicroStrategy. But better than that, I think that Michael Saylor is right. I think that other companies within S&P 500 and publicly listed companies, as well as privately held companies, would see the move and say, shucks, I got to go and get on this gravy train. And now the game theory, as I have said not that long ago, is afoot. So, of course, we are seeing that we were saying there are some interesting pieces that are happening with hacking and the wallets. So, if you're holding Ledger, you might want to be aware of what has transpired. I actually shared with you not that long ago that Ledger has been hacked earlier this summer. And of course, when that happened, they played it off like, oh, it's not a big deal. They basically said that, like, they got an email and there's only about 95, 100 people whose phone numbers were stolen. And even the vice president of marketing of Ledger went out there and put in this, like, special statement in the newspapers and all of that stuff. Well, it turns out it's not exactly that. Data dump includes well over 1 million email addresses and 272,853 hardware wallet orders with information including email, physical address, and a phone number. As you can see, that's vastly different than 9,500 that they were saying was actually happening. So this is one of those things that are very interesting. Now, of course, what's happening is that the scammers have been targeting victims, right? And so it started with an email of like, hey, somebody's withdrawing your money, click here. And so some people clicked it, they gave their keys, and they lost their money. Then there were text messaging individuals and saying, hey, you got to update and you got to do the KYC. And then some of them were actually putting Trezor instead of Ledger and right, like, so they were doing all kinds of crazy stuff. But now what actually ended up happening is that not only do they have all of this information, is that there's this information now available on the web. And it's whoever stole it ended up saying, hell, might as well just harass everybody. So they dumped it onto the web for everybody under the sun to be able to actually get the information. Of course, the community is pissed off, and rightfully so, and saying, like, why in the world would you even hold on to that stuff in the first place? I mean, I get it, you got to hold it for like, 30 days or, like 2-3 months, but why are you holding on to that information? Well, and of course, why is it being held within the whole ecosystem that is easily hackable? Like, why would you do such a thing? So whether it's laws, whether it's their marketing, whether it's the traditional way to do business, and traditional way to do business is that you get your customers' information and then you basically hold on to it for forever. Of course, some of the people are saying, in my humble opinion, the Ledger leak is unforgivable. You simply can't sell hardware wallets and store personal information on your customer on an online server where everybody can go and do it. And he's saying you got to cut off the business with them. And personally, I will tell you, I don't know that I feel warm and fuzzy about Ledger at all whatsoever because of the whole thing. Now, there's of course now an inherent strategy and danger with SIM swapping attacks that will likely be used, and you probably should know about it if you don't know already. So what is a SIM swapping and how to avoid it? Well, SIM swapping is basically when individual who has all of your information calls the company that you have the phone with and basically pretends that they are you because they have all of your information. They say, oh, hi there, my name is Nev and I lost my phone, or I went swimming and it's down at the bottom of the ocean, I can't recover it, I have a new phone thing, could you maybe just activate that SIM card to my phone over here? And of course, if they have your name and phone number and email and mailing address and all these different things, then it makes it super easy for them to actually do this swapperoo thing. And what ends up happening is that your phone now belongs to somebody else. And here is where the problem lies. Aside from you no longer getting calls or text messages, big problem. There also, if you have two-factor authorization, it's actually now diverting to that SIM card, meaning it's no longer coming to you, it's now coming to the person who actually has your SIM card. So, what does that mean for ledger holders? Well, that means that when they go in and log in, even if you're using 2FA, they get the text message, they go in, and boom. Not only can they access Ledger, but they can also access other crypto exchanges as well. And of course, then they can empty the wallets and move on. So you got to be super careful with this stuff. One of the interesting pieces that I did read about that I figure I'll share with you, you might know about it, you might not know about it, is how to protect your money. And of course, one of the things that you want to pay attention to is connect with your cell phone provider and see if they have special passwords, pins, or special secret words so that only you as the owner would know. Many of the companies have that, not everybody has that, but that is something that you might want to consider doing and potentially look how to prevent some of this stuff happening. And of course, this is not just for like Ledger and for the, crypto exchanges and wallets, but it's like a lot of other things that is very sensitive and it all lives in our phones. So I think it's an important thing for us to do. All right, now we've come time to talk a little bit about some of the altcoins that actually could do incredibly well. And as Scotty actually has put into the chat, Graph is one of the things that actually is on the list. Now, this is not my list. I have my own list and stuff, but I think that this is a pretty interesting list to consider. So, this is coming from Tyler Swoop, Chico Crypto. Of course, if you are following crypto, you are definitely on his channel. You're definitely following, so that's kind of awesome. And if you're not, if you're new, check him out. I really actually do like him and his research. So he is not necessarily on the breaking news and that kind of spectrum or the analysis stuff. He's very much into the deep sort of, let's go into the project and understand them. So I really appreciate his stuff. And he didn't pay me to say any of this stuff, in case you're wondering. So on top of his list is Chainlink, as is one of my favorite altcoins as well. The reason for Chainlink, honestly, is because so much is powered by it, and with all of the projects that are being built, that are being created, you really need Chainlink. You really need the oracles in order to be able to accomplish the tasks. Now, I know that some of the easiest of the oracles are basically just to pull the price feeds. You put that puppy into your smart contract and you call it a day, and that's super easy. But there are certain events that happen off-chain that you need oracles and you need verifiers and you need sort of a third party, trusted third party that is not going to benefit whatever the cause of the event is. And so for that, you create basically a special contract with Chainlink, which means you got to spend Link in order to do it. As more projects go out there, as more projects start developing, and needing their support, and Chainlink turns out to be truly the leader within the whole space, which I believe they are. I mean, there are new people and new projects coming in all the time, but they are, and they have been holding into this leadership position very strongly, that I do believe that Chainlink does have a potential to truly moon. Could it go as high as $100? Yeah, I think so. Could it go as high as $1,000? Yeah, I think so. But one of the things that I do also want to mention and share with you is that, this is not a financial advice. You shouldn't listen to a random dude early in the morning on a Monday tell you which one should or should not moon, okay? You got to do your own research. And of course, if you decide to invest or trade, then do it with the money you can afford to lose. I mean, I know everybody says that and everybody's like, yeah. But then people don't do it. And then you get those things like we talked about a couple of days ago, the idiot that was like, I lost all the money I've ever had. How am I going to live? I got to pay bills. I'm like, why would you do that to yourself? That's stupid. So don't do that. Please don't do that. Don't be that guy, okay? The graph. The graph is, oh my gosh, the graph is amazing. All right. Can I talk about it? Is that okay? Graph is super, super cool. It pumped like crazy. So that's number one. It's not even a week old, okay? And it's already up. Like it's been doubling almost on daily basis. Now, it did come back down a little bit. I think it's a good potential buying opportunity. And what it does is basically an indexing and querying protocol for some of the hot topics is what's happening. And so they also are starting to partner with Chainlink. That's right. So these puppies are connected, and so because there's no other project like the Graph, I do believe that the Graph has a huge potential, and it could go from I think it was like 57 cents or something like that when I saw it earlier today. I think it potentially could go into tens of dollars. And I know that like sounds really silly, but when you go from 57 cents to I don't know $50, that's a pretty darn good return. Is it going to get there? Is it not? I have no clue. My crystal ball broke, but I think it's very important. The number three on Tyler's list is the compound, and he believes that there is a collaboration with the compound and some of the other networks, and they are actually going in and looking to develop some of the other sort of side chains and bridges and kind of connect with stuff, which brings him to the next thing, which is XDAI. He has been super bullish on XDAI, and I actually do like XDAI quite a bit. If you're interested to learn how to sort of swap-a-roo between the two, there are plenty of the YouTube videos of how to basically take your DAI into XDAI and be able to kind of play around. You're going to need your MetaMask. You're going to need to go into and get all of the, follow the processes. But it does give you an ability then to create really a bridge. And, of course, a lot of people are using XDAI to get into HoneySwap. Now, HoneySwap, people are liking it because it operates just like Uniswap with the direction or the distinction that it's using XDAI as opposed to DAI. So, of course, it's not exactly the same. The only challenge for folks, because they're saying, well, it's much faster and it's much cheaper to process, which is really, really cool. The downside is that the HoneySwap is not seeing as much or as many people go in there, so it's not seeing as much liquidity. So that's the sort of downside that you need to be aware and pay attention to. And final thing on Tyler's list is Unibright, which is the digital ledger solution provider that offers tools and functionalities that enable businesses to use the blockchain and create tokenized assets without the need to code. And this is a very interesting thing. So Unibright has teamed up with the Baseline Protocol, and what they're doing, of course, is they want to make the whole programming on the blockchain very obscure, very weird, and we'll see if they're going to be successful. But I think that there's definitely a use case for individuals and businesses wanting to do some stuff. They don't want to learn how to code. That's not their forte. That's not what they're interested in. They're going to come in, they're going to click a couple of buttons, set it up, boom, they're ready to go. So Unibright might have a bright future, but of course, only time will tell. So that's it for today. Hey, thanks for watching. If you're brand new to the whole thing, you know what to do. It's a called subscribe button. If you're liking it, help me out, like the channel, and I will see you tomorrow. Until next time, stay forever money blessed, and do remember, you are only one deal away.